Hello and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Today we are joined by the author of Time to Leave, Rae North. Yay! Welcome to the room.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. So I got your questions all orchestrated out here, so I'm kind of excited. You have started a venture. And I don't want to say too much. We're going to talk about your aspects and everything that you're doing. And then I'm going to kind of feed in because I'm really excited about this to talk with you on it. All right?
Cool.
Okay. So before we write, and as writers, we always read. Okay. So the majority of us always start out as readers. So tell me about your current read.
Currently, and actually I just finished it, Judy Blume's In the Unlikely Event, which takes place in the early 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
And, Judy actually is, she's written across all age levels, and this happens to be an adult book, but the protagonist is a 15-year-old. So, so I got a lot of practice at from a master, how to develop that character.
Right. My sister, when we were growing up, had a whole bunch of Judy Blume books. And there was one thing that I remember, and this might be a little bit out of the norm. It was like, I must increase my. I left out the word, but I'm sure if you're a Judy Blume fan, you already know what I'm talking about.
Gee, I've been listening to her masterclass lectures, and she talks about how, some of at the time she was writing the books, and she's mentioning things like getting your period and being involved with boys, that there was a lot of kickback on that. And, that's just, it's realistic fiction, right? So,
well, yeah, that's right down the alley of normal right there.
That's right. That's right.
So, as I said before, we write and then we read. And before we write, we read. I should rephrase that. And knowing that, like most of us, reading is a passion. And for you, tell us why, after you're reading and you decided to undertake the writing yourself, tell us why you decided to venture on Amazon's new outlet called Amazon Vella. What made you decide to start off this way?
Well, here's the thing. I've had this book outlined for about 5 years.
Wow.
Outlined it in a class, and I just never got to it. And when this new platform came out, I went back through all of my, preliminary outlines and thought, well, this would just be kind of fun. And I'm a very slow writer. So in my mind, I said, okay, you're going to do 2 episodes a week, and you will get this book done that way. And so that's what's happened, is I make sure that I have 2 episodes edited for the week, and publish them. And it's really about that. It's about just getting, the final draft out there. And then I've already started planning the follow-up. It'll be a 3-book series. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but, Kindle Vella is it's an interesting platform because it's Amazon's first plunge into serialized fiction. And, the community interactions on their website are really interesting. People are outraged. People are happy. I mean, there's all range of how authors are feeling about the platform. I'm happy with it so far.
Right.
I think it's a good opportunity. And for me, it's really about making sure I have 2 episodes edited every week. So it's just making me meet those deadlines.
Right. In full disclosure, and this is why I'm excited to have you. In full disclosure, I started doing Vellas after my very first interview which was Deb. Oh my goodness, I'm a horrible person because I can't remember her last name right off the top of my tongue. Um, Laura, do you remember Deb's last name? You're really good at stuff like that. Um, anyway, she was our very first interview, and she had just started with it. And I was like, what is that? And so but I'm at the very beginning where you are, and because you mentioned in your notes how you're a very slow writer, but you have 24 episodes out. And I noticed, because I also have you up over here on my other computer, that you have 8 in the last 30 days. And I'm like, what? So
because I make now, mind you, the episodes can be between 600 and 5,000 words, and I tend to write short scenes. So I'm, like this week I did a 600-word episode, and coming out tomorrow is 1,000-word episode. So, I don't make myself stick to a certain word count. It's just they have to be at least 600. But some scenes require more words than others, right? So it is that commitment to myself to do 2 a week. And it's kind of like, by golly, I am going to get those out. So, and good for you. So you're on the platform too?
Yes. I know what you were saying about some people are upsetting, but you know what? Be honest with you, I'm trying to take a little different stab to it. Although I've just started, so I'm sure that there's not much readers on what I've put out. And although I've got my fingers crossed, so we're going to hope. What I'm trying to do is I want to write the story along with my readers. I want their input to change the story a little bit. You know what I mean? I already have several chapters already written. Actually, to be honest, just to hit it to a novella, I would only need maybe 4,000 more words. But I decided not to finish it because I thought it would be exciting to do it along with readers. So I found that the interesting part. And also, as far as being upset from authors, Amazon's still going to let you put it as a book. You know what I mean? You can still put it all in a book and you're done. So I don't understand the disgruntled view on that. I really don't. Unless there's something that I'm missing. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Honestly, when I want to entertain myself, I go to the forum and I just read, and I'm just like, oh, these silly people. It's just sort of entertaining for me.
Right.
And there are some glitches, like one of the things I wish is that when somebody followed you, that they would get notices when you put up new episodes. That part's not happening. That would be nice. But I hear what you're saying. It's nice to have the reader feedback. I always take advantage of the notes.
Right.
There isn't a very good way for people to respond to you unless they're sending it to your email or so how are you getting their feedback?
Well, I haven't done any of that yet, but you make up a valid point. So you know what I should do is I should go back through and put an email to it, because I put it in the comments. What I did was I thought maybe they would do it in the reviews. You know what I mean? As far as seeing where they wanted the story. But right. I can understand it. I can see putting an email. You probably bring up a very valid point. What I've done just at this point, again, I only have 2 episodes, so I'm still wading through the water here. So, I'm like at the, you know what I mean? I'm not even in the shallow end. I've got barely a toe in the water here. So, I put a date, when I let it expire from when you want to put input. And then I let the people know when my next date is that I'll post the next episode. So they have a cutoff date, and then they have another date as far as when the next comes out. So if they wanted to input, they have until such and such date.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just for reference, the woman I was talking about, who was my very first interview, was Deb Hunter. She is a U.S. Today bestselling author historian, and Amazon came to her and asked her if she would be interested in doing Amazon Bellas.
Cool.
I know, right? So at least we're up there with some nice names.
I, I
Um,
have I have recognized some of the names. One of them is, somebody I've met at conference before, and so it's really, it's not such a huge community, right?
right,
Like we know people's names from social media or meeting them at one point or another, or taking a class with them, or you know,
right.
or a
Well,
class from them.
as far as like anyone being upset, a lot of people were upset when KDP came about, you know what I mean?
Right.
Some people like it, some people don't. For a long time I was part of KDP, but I'm not in KDP at the moment. Now, but you don't have to be in KDP with all your books. You can pick and choose what you want, you know what I'm saying? And
Right. Right.
but I'm a big Amazon fan, so I can't really find fault in this setup. I mean, yeah, but again, I'm not even in the waiting pool yet. So, but
But you know
let's
what?
go
But
ahead.
you dove in, and so
Yeah.
like for me, and maybe you're like this. I have a feeling you are. Is once I dive in, there's the commitments there. So oh boy, I need to follow through,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I mean, but you're getting interaction. So, I mean, I'm very envious. So, I am going to be like stalking you.
Well, I'm gonna look you up and see. I'll the thing about the reviews too is that I think they can only leave one review per
Oh,
story,
okay.
but I'm not sure about that. I'm
Yep.
not
So,
sure.
you know what I think I should do is probably go back in and update because they'll say it takes about 72 hours, but I've not seen where it's taken more than 24 hours for it to update once you do it. So
When
I
you do it.
probably,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. With edits, that's what I'm finding because I've gone back and fixed a couple of things, and it's usually
yeah.
20. Yeah,
Well, and that makes it nice too because if you have people that can say, "Hey, you misspelled or you did this," that's kind of nice too. Because let's be honest, I mean, getting an editor is expensive, and I mean, I've got an assistant and she's freaking awesome, but I mean, having another set of eyes never hurts. So, how many people you have reading, you're like, "Oh, yeah, this is the best editing service I've ever had." So, it could work for you too when you
yeah,
get ready to put it into an actual book. You know what I mean? When you put it all back
right,
together.
right.
So let's put this back in perspective as far as where you're coming from here on your book. So with your book, Time to Leave being your first full length novel, and as said, being released on Amazon Bella, tell us about the befores because I believe that I read that you've written your fair share of flash fiction. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I have in my early days of writing because it was doable, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the same group of writers for 20 years, and yeah, I know it's such a gift. Well, there's two of us that are hardcore, and one that drops in, and one that moved. So anyway, two of us that are hardcore, and it's good writing practice in being succinct.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just actually dug some of those stories out this week because there's a 100-word contest coming up that
Ooh.
I'm going to enter. So I've been working on revising those. I've sent things in before. I haven't had anything published. I've had some success at oh, uh, what are they called? Story something. I want to. Gosh, I can't think. Anyway, a live presentation of your story, and then the audience votes. Like I've had some success and good feedback that way over the years, but
Right.
which is fun actually to kind of perform in front of a live audience. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Um,
Well, you're
yeah.
kind of doing that right now.
Well, yes, I am. Thanks to you.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
And then, and flash fiction is interesting because it's defined so differently as far as word count. There's not agreement on that at all.
Hmm.
Some people think up to 1,500 words, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not, in my mind, that's not flash fiction. But, in somebody else's, it is. So, whatever.
Okay, so what is your guidelines for what would you consider flash fiction?
I consider flash 100 words or less.
Wow, really?
Just really tight beginning, middle, end, with a surprise kind of a ending. That's what I like to do.
Wow, that is challenging.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
But it's fun. It's fun. Try it. Try it.
Well, I'll tell you what I have found interesting is granted, I'm not an editor, okay, by any means, but I've had a few experiences where I've had other authors ask me if I would put input onto their work, and where you just go in and tweak it where how you would write it, and I have found that fun. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't like it done to me because you know you know what I'm saying. When we become writer, the editing process is tricky. Sometimes I'm just like I'm right on board with it, and other times I'm like, oh, what? That's my baby. Why? So but I have found that really interesting to play with someone else's stuff. But again, let's get back to you. Let's see. Let's dive a little deeper into Time to Leave. Tell us about its premise and how this book came about for you.
So I've always been interested in what happens during those teen years, and especially when you're looking at graduating high school and what the heck are you going to do, when, the old joke of the dad during the 18th birthday supper picks up the kid's plate and tosses it against the wall and says, that's the last meal you'll have with us. So you're faced with that, having to make decisions that you're probably not really ready to make. And so that period of life really fascinates me. And I did not myself think it was a very comfortable time of life. And so I wanted to write about that coming of age kind of a story. And then sort of maybe it's not such a subplot, but the relationship with your dad comes up in this story. I mean, right from the beginning. So that's also something that I wanted to explore. And with the help of one of my teacher mentors, I was able to outline this story actually fairly easily, because there's so many things that there's so much conflict that can happen when you're 17, right? I mean, because you think everything's you think everything's right, like everybody's picking on me and nobody understands me, and so it's that kind of and it's the response to that where my character gets herself involved in a very unhealthy sexual relationship, and so exploring that, the things we do when we think we're in love, especially when we're young. Yeah. It's kind of a heavy book that way. I was really fortunate that I have a friend who's much younger than I am, who is one of my beta readers. And so she helps me with the language. She tells me whether, that somebody would actually say that or do that when they're that age. And that helps, because my regular critique group are older, and they all said, you have to have somebody younger read this, because we don't know what they would say, so that's been a really, really good thing for me to have.
Right. Well, it's always nice to have someone that you can have an insight with, or you can pick their brain on, what do you think of this, or what do you think of that? Would you have done this? So that is a good thing. So when we talk about the creation, walk me through your process. What's a time structure of your writing day?
Oh, so a typical day for me is up at 5:30 and 6, grab my coffee and go directly to my desk.
Wow,
So
really?
I am most productive that first 4 hours of the day, and by 10, kind of not, I'm not as on it.
Right.
So yeah, I can still do, Facebook, and I can still answer my email, but that's about it. I can do, for first draft and final revisions, they absolutely have to be done in the morning. I can do some read throughs later in the day.
Mm-hmm.
or, certainly have my critique group meets in the afternoon. So I can usually be clear-headed enough to have that conversation. But now I'm definitely a morning person.
Right. I don't know. I don't know about being a morning person. I mean, I get up in the morning, but that doesn't mean I'm a morning person.
Oh, yeah. I know.
I'm not actually a person until after 2 cups of coffee. I'll just put that out there.
Uh-huh.
We're about out of time, but I do have 2 more questions. You willing to hang in there with me for a couple more questions?
Sure.
Okay. So you have 24 episodes in your Amazon Vella time to leave. Explain to our readers how the Amazon Vella process is working for you and your readers thus far.
So far, I mean, I don't have a lot of followers. I think you'll see on the website there's like seven kind of regulars.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's working for me in that, again, it's my timeline. It makes me be accountable for getting those episodes edited and ready to go. And, the readers, I have 2 reviews. Both of them have been favorable. I'm hoping for more. Of course, we're always hoping for more reviews,
yeah.
right? That's always one of the hard things. But I really like the platform. I just I think it's fun. One of my friends said, "Yeah, when I'm just waiting in line, I just pull up a story on my phone," which is exactly what the platform's designed for.
Yes. It is nice because then you don't have to, when the next, especially if there's some regularity, you know what I mean? If you know that there's another one coming, you know what I'm saying? And because I'm hooked on Audible books, I'll be honest with you. I love Audible books. And when I pick a new series, I choose along the genres that I'm interested in, the genres. But if there are a lot of books in that series, that is my next word. That's my next read because then it continues on, and it's like it's never ending. So,
and you get into the world. Yeah, you get into that world and follow the characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, as we conclude our interview, what is one thing that you would like our listeners to take away from our interview about you today?
Well, I would say if you're a writer, one thing to I think is you don't give up, and I'm a real believer in some kind of structure, and I know a lot of people are pantsers, but even at that, I think a lot of those folks actually have structure in their heads, and they don't really know it. So being familiar with that, what if you want to be published and have a following, I think you have to follow some kind of structure, whether you do that before you write or whether you do that when you're doing your first round revisions, because that's what readers expect.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being on the program. I greatly enjoy it, and I will be following. And for those who are interested, she is on Amazon Vella. I have the link, and I will be posting the link on all the venues today. It is Time to Leave, a YA coming of the age story. So please check it out. She has an awesome cover there. And again, thank you so much. Thank you all my listeners for coming in. We're going to have another program next Thursday. I look forward to seeing you all. Have a great evening. Bye-bye for now.